teaching at East 15 Acting College.
Yes.
How does dance and music affect your teaching, or the other way around?
Well, it's funny because I taught at East 15 Acting School about 10 years ago, shortly after I had done my doctoral work, and just teaching the straight-up acting school. I wanted to introduce English acting students to acting beyond Shakespeare, beyond the Euro-American canon. And I tried to bring in more kinds of, especially Asian performance, which is my area. And many people were a bit interested. 10 years later, there's now a course in world performance, and that's the course that I'm teaching on. So the students that I work with are people who are learning about performance in all sorts of genres. So I can actually teach them Balinese dance as acting students. So I'm teaching them about how to express themselves through movement. And in a Balinese mode, my colleague who's head of the course is a Jingju performer. And so they also learn Jingju, Chinese opera. And it's quite exciting because at East 15 they have also acquired a gong kebyar. And they have just had their first visiting artist come. They had two visiting artists, one from Bali, Nyuman Sadana, and one from China, whose first name is Tracy and whose second name I can't remember. But she trained in Jingju from childhood. But the students got to have some experience in playing the gamelan. They played it abominably. It was awful. But they are dying to do more of it. They really, really want to understand. And so my mission now is to make playing the gamelan part of their training. And I think this is going to be, hopefully, a great thing for the future of Balinese arts in the UK, if you will. That eventually we're going to be turning out students who have some experience of playing gamelan, some experience of Balinese performance, who may want to continue with that. Certainly the personnel that are in Lila Cita, some of it's fluctuating. There are a lot of people who've been with the group since the very beginning, since before in Kembang Kirang on the Angklung. There's a sort of hardcore of people who've been around for a long time. But there are lots of new people coming up, and they've come from some from Dartington College in the West Country, where there is gong kebyar, and they get Balinese gamelan, and some of them who've been introduced to it there have joined our group. And then Andy teaches gamelan at City University and at SOAS, and of course with the community gamelan. And so the people who come up through those gamelan groups also, some of them get bitten by the bug, and some of them really want to stick with it. One of the guys in the group now, Lewis, was a student at City University, and a music student. He didn't come from any kind of particular gamelan background, but he loves it, and he works really, really hard at it. And now he's got a Dharma Sisu scholarship, and he's going to be going to Bali for a year, and he's going to come back, we hope, unless he decides to marry a Balinese girl. I think if he marries a Balinese girl, he's got to marry a dancer and bring her back. This is it. We're starting to make new rules for the group. If anybody wants to get married, they have to marry somebody who can contribute to the group. So all the girls, if they get married, they have to marry a Balinese musician. All children are now designated as a Penyam Brahma or Baris rather than male or female, because we need to get them in early. But there are lots of people coming in, and they're coming in because gamelan is being taught, and they're encountering it in schools and workshops and that sort of thing. And it makes them very excited. Quite funny, actually, one of my students at East 15, I asked if anybody had any experience of gamelan, and somebody said, oh yes, my school did a workshop at LSO St. Luke's. I don't remember much about it, but yeah, it was kind of neat. It was. So this is a good thing. You plant a seed, and then if you can just give people the opportunity to do a bit more of it, they will. It's certainly extraordinary when you think 30 years ago, 35 years ago, there really were very few gamelans, certainly no gamelans that anybody played in this country. And now there are dozens, and Balinese, Javanese, Sundanese, there's a lot of it going on.
You think gamelan is part of their culture now?
No. And it's a pity. When South Bank Gamelan gave regular classes and had regular, every term, concerts on the South Bank, there were a lot more people who were familiar with gamelan. It was a very, very public space. And because they gave a lot of classes at a lot of different levels, there were lots and lots of students who brought their friends and their families to see them perform. And so I sensed, and this was before I ever started playing the gamelan, I sensed that people had an idea of what a gamelan was. But it has not yet made a huge mark on British culture. British culture tends to be a bit insular. You don't see a lot of Balinese musicians playing Beethoven either, so it goes both ways.
I heard gamelan was in the curriculum in the secondary year.
Yes, I think it is. And I don't know if that's changed. The education priorities keep changing. But as I said earlier, I think that it really should be on everyone's curriculum. I've been privileged to do a couple of workshops in schools working with gamelan and dance, and kids get so much out of it. And maybe not all of them love it, maybe some of them think it's too noisy, but there are always two or three. When Manuel and I did a workshop over like sort of 3 or 4 days in a school in Islington, there were 2 or 3 little girls who just followed us around and asked all kinds of questions about the gamelan. And then dancing, what about dancing? And was there any other kind of dance besides topeng? I said, oh yes, it's beautiful girl dances. They were just thrilled. So, perhaps one day they will graduate to playing in the gamelan.